Welcome to the bread kitchen. It's not uncommon in Russian breads for some of the wheat flour to be replaced by potato. The resulting bread is really soft. So to make this bread, I've got 350 grams of strong white bread flour and 115 grams of strong wholemeal flour. Here there's about 250 grams of raw potato, which is peeled and diced. That's about 2 potatoes that size. 25 grams of butter, 2 teaspoons of salt, 1.5 teaspoons of dried yeast and half a teaspoon of caraway seeds that I've lightly crushed in a mortar and pestle. This is optional. First thing to do is to cook the potato, so pop it into a pan of water and bring to the boil. Now let the potatoes cook for about 10 minutes or until they're tender. Once the potatoes are cooked, we can drain them. But before I drain the potatoes, I'm just going to put aside 150 grams of the water that the potatoes were cooked in. That'll do. Now I can drain these potatoes. Now once they've been drained, I can mash them. That looks quite good. And then to finish off and make sure there are no lumps, I'm going to pass the potatoes through a sieve. Just use a spoon to push the potato through. Most of the potato's gone through, just a few little bits and pieces, but the rest is now in the bowl. Now add the 150 grams of potato water back into the potato and mix well. And you'll end up with this kind of potato slurry. Now leave this to cool. Once your potatoes are just above room temperature, we can add in the yeast. Give it a good mix and then leave it for about 10 minutes for the yeast to get going. Meanwhile, I'll put the 2 types of flour in the bowl together with the salt and the caraway seeds and mix. Then add in the butter and rub it into the flour. Now make a well in the centre and pour in your potato yeast mix, which should have little bubbles in it by now. Just use my rubber spatula to make sure I get all the potato and liquid out. Then mix the whole lot together. It takes a couple of minutes, but it will all come together into one very soft dough. Now pop the dough on a floured surface and knead it well for about 8 to 10 minutes. Now after 10 minutes of good hard kneading, your dough should feel lovely smooth and be quite elastic. So pop it into a lightly greased bowl, cover and leave in a nice warm place for the dough to double in size. Now it doesn't take too long for the dough to rise because the yeast have got all that lovely starch to go out in the potato. So I'll just turn it out, knock it back to get all the air out. I'll just bring it together and I'm going to knead it gently just for a couple of minutes. Now I'm going to make this into a nice little plump loaf by taking the edges and folding them into the centre. This stretches the gluten underneath so it'll make a nice smooth loaf. Turn it over and plump it up. Kind of a chopping action underneath. And I'm turning the dough as I do this. Oh, it looks quite nice. Now pop it onto a lightly greased tray. Just sprinkle it with a little bit of wholemeal flour. Then cover with some oiled film, or I like to pop mine in a nice big plastic bag. Then I'm going to pop it somewhere nice and warm until it doubles in size. It's only taken about half an hour for this loaf to rise up. So I'm going to make some diagonal slashes in it to create a crisscross pattern. Now I'm going to bake this in the oven at 180 fan oven, 200 normal oven for about 35 minutes. Now when it's cooked, it's going to come out this lovely brown colour. Now leave it to cool. This is a really tasty and very soft loaf. The bread keeps remarkably well and you can use it for sandwiches or toast, and it goes nicely with soup too. I hope you enjoy making your Russian potato bread, and do join me next time in the bread kitchen.